Well, I also have to speak to you about what's going on at MSNBC. It was a sad day for one of the most unhinged commentators on American television, with Joy Reid losing her show, The Reid Out. She made her mark, of course, by providing divisive commentary and labelling Trump supporters as Nazis and racists. And this was some of her finest work, taking issue with white male tears.
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like, bring waterworks. White men can get away with that too. And it has the same effect. Even as the right tries to politicize the idea that masculinity is being robbed from American men by multiculturalism and wokeism, they still want to be able to have their tears.
Joy Reid shared a video of herself in tears after the show was cancelled, insisting that her program had value. And some of her colleagues have expressed their outrage over the decision to cancel her show. And Rachel Maddow told her audience that we still all have a lot to learn from Joy Reid, and she suggests that Joy Reid lost her job because she's not a white woman.
I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC, and personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got count them, two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible.
Alex, what do you make of all this? I mean, she's essentially suggesting that management made this decision because they're a bunch of racists and it had nothing to do with network ratings.
Yeah, MSNBC should be ashamed because you work in television. I work at a media company that plays. If Joy Reid's show had any viewers, if her ratings were halfway decent, she would have kept her job. I mean, they let her have a show for way too long without anybody watching. So it had nothing to do with her race. And if you do want to credit to her race, it was her race that probably got her hired. So it's just absolutely insane that Rachel Maddow would try to be a social justice warrior and go after her own company that pays her bills, that makes her the #1 star of their network. So it's just another virtue signal, because I'm sure behind closed doors, Rachel Maddow is probably kissing the butts of her CEOs and her producers. So I don't know. It's just kind of this weird cat and mouse game where she tries to act like she cares, but in reality, she knows that Joy Reid didn't get any ratings, and that if Joy Reid actually had some ratings, she'd still have a show on the network.
I want to speak to you about this New York Times article. It's a real article that has been published in the New York Times, and it has the headline, "As a white man, can I date a woman of colour to advance my anti-racism?" So someone's written in, which the New York Times decided to publish, and it says, "I'm a straight white dude and a recent college grad who has very progressive beliefs, and I want to prioritise dating women of colour. I believe strongly that one of the main ways to combat racism is through relationships. Part of me thinks that I will always be somewhat disappointed if what ends up becoming one of the most important relationships in my life is with another white person. If someone is a woman of colour, that checks a box for me in a real way. I'm seeking to be anti-racist in all of my relationships." And the New York Times replied, "Although you're not objectifying your hypothetical partner, you are just a little instrumentalizing her. And that's not to say you aren't entitled to pursue this campaign of strenuous self-optimizing." I mean, Alex, it's pretty easy to simply not be a racist. Is this what kind of content New York Times readers want? Why is New York Times publishing this?
Well, there's a saying, the cover up is always worse than the crime. So this person trying to be anti-racist by dating or marrying a person of color is inherently racist. Like, it seems like they're trying to cover up for some sort of, racist history. It just doesn't make sense. Love and marry the person that you most connect with. Do not base it off their, their ethnicity. And I know that sounds like common sense, but just imagine that this person is really reading the New York Times and sending in this question, like, how can I be less racist? So that's where we're at, is people don't even know. It's like, if I have a black girlfriend, will that make me less racist? And then they do. So it's just like how all these celebrities have transgender children. They look at these people as accessories and not as human beings. And then that is really racist.
Yeah, well, good point. I want to also speak to you about the changes coming at the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos has announced a pretty significant shift in the Washington Post's opinion section to now focus on defending personal liberties and free markets. He argues that the internet has plenty of diverse points of view, and so the Post is going to really be focusing on defending personal liberties and free markets. Now, the current editor, David Shipley, is stepping down due to the shift. What do you make of this? Is this going to improve readership?
Well, with the Washington Post, if they actually stand up for free speech, they would become more successful. And that's why there are a few media companies. I work at one, Sky News is one, where people are, not afraid to post both sides of the argument. And Washington Post has not done that. They've been very biased and one-sided. So if they're just going to, if he's saying that they're going to make his news less biased, then it will get more viewers. Because if you really if you read anything in this day and age, people can tell. People sometimes want the slant, and these people try to sell this left-leaning slant. But now that Donald Trump is the most popular guy in the world, they're all changing their tune and realizing that way more people are conservative, or at least moderately right, than they thought before. So it's very important that we start making content and articles and videos that appeal to them. So I think Jeff Bezos is a businessman. He realizes that would be the best strategy to make more money for the Washington Post.
Finally, I want to speak to you about what's happening with James Comey. The FBI has launched an investigation into former FBI Director James Comey for his honeypot operation targeting Donald Trump in 2016. Now, the announcement comes just days after Kash Patel was sworn in as a new FBI director. And according to a whistleblower, 2 undercover female FBI employees infiltrated Trump's 2016 campaign to act as honeypots to obtain information. So, Alex, this was essentially to go in and destroy Donald Trump before he was even in power.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Russian collusion and all of the lies that the mainstream media, people like Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow spread, you would have thought that he was working in concert with Vladimir Putin to win the 2016 election. Now, obviously, that was proved to be false, but I mean, that's the reality in which they live in, is that they have to, instead of actually winning by merit, they have to lie, cheat, and steal. And Trump went through it the past few years with all of his prosecutions that he's had to go through. So really and truly, if James Comey, I'm actually very thankful for James Comey, even though he's terrible, did the honeypot investigation, because it was his statement exposing Hillary Clinton's emails that I think was what put Trump over the top. So Comey wasn't doing that to try to help Donald Trump. He was actually doing that to save his job, because he knew that these emails were really bad and that this is a serious thing. But imagine if Donald Trump had an private email server and he destroyed, hundreds of thousands of government emails. He would be underneath the jail, not even in it. And he protected Hillary Clinton, and he tried to appease us by saying he's looking into it. But I think it was just that one statement in front of Congress that changed everything for the Trump campaign. So in a way, I still have a little bit of love for James Comey doing that.
Okay, fair enough. Look, finally, it's been revealed that Donald Trump took more than 1,000 questions in his first month being president again. And Joe Biden, in his first month, took less than 150. We're starting to see some clips going around of Donald Trump really firing back at reporters, while Joe Biden, of course, barely even answered any, or when he did, he didn't know what he was talking about. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Where is Joe Biden at the moment? He's been awfully quiet. We know that he signed with a talent agency. It mustn't be going well. We haven't seen him pop up anywhere.
I never would have thought that I'd be on Sky News saying this, but I kind of miss Uncle Old Joe Biden. Now, Kamala Harris, you can go sit in the nosebleeds at the Lakers game. But let's just be real. The last 4 years, Joe Biden has been the president, but he's just been a figurehead. He hasn't been making any decisions. He's probably been the victim of elder abuse, in my opinion, by some of the ways that people have treated him over the past 4 years, making him work hard when he obviously has serious mental decline. The guy deserves to be resting and relaxing and vacationing, not being the figurehead for some sort of weird social engineering that's making our country weaker. So honestly, I miss Joe Biden, not as president, but I miss him as the goofy old guy that always had a funny, mishap on the public stage that, it's not the way Trump entertains us, but it was still entertaining in a different way than Trump does it.
Yeah, it was certainly content that we have never seen before, especially from a sitting president. Alex Stein, so great to speak with you. Blue teeth and all, you're still looking great. Really appreciate you making the time.
Thank you. I look like a freak. Thank you for having me on. And I don't encourage people to take this. I don't know.
No, you've got to do this every time you come back. You've got to have the blue teeth. It's going to be a signature
No,
look.
I hope they don't stay this way. They look terrible. But thank you for having me.
No, give us an update when we next speak. Alex, thanks so much.